County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We'll do the roll.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Persky.
Here.
Commissioner Bertram.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Notch.
Present. There's always got to be one.
Well, it's
Tuck that
Christmas.
grade
All
up.
present.
Yeah, I was thinking of Christmas. Okay.
Okay, now please join us in standing for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Last meeting of the year, so let's make sure we get through this. First would be the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
None from
Any additions or changes? Any discussion from the board? Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
Move approval.
Second.
Commissioner Clark moves to approve the agenda. Commissioner Persky seconds it. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. I've asked Melissa and Mike to talk about item E14. So that'll be pulled. Anything else anybody wants to discuss? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I'd like to pull E6.
Okay. E6. Okay. Anything else? That would leave 18 items on the consent agenda. If there's no further discussion,
I'll move items 1 through 20 with the exclusion of 6 and 14.
okay?
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Persky moves, Commissioner Johnson seconds, approval of the consent agenda, the 18 items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Why don't we take 6 first? Let's do it in order.
E6
Yes.
is to approve
family leave.
paid family leave and medical leave policy and related changes. I'll move approval.
Second.
Do you want Jennifer to answer some questions?
Yes, I think so. First of all, I have no issue with what you're asking us to approve, and that is to discontinue the PTO program, donation program.
Yes.
I understand that. It's clarity for me about two things. One is, as it relates to eligibility, we have MetLife who is determining eligibility, but the county can determine when people return to work. So how does the communication work there?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I actually have Julie here. She's our lead on this program and has been working with MetLife in that transition of employees returning to work. So I'm going to share that with Julie Bradford at this time.
Maybe for the record, Jennifer, just state your name and then Julie, you as well.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Jennifer Thorsten, Stearns County HR Director.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Julie Bradford, Employee Relations Specialist. Commissioner Johnson, I believe your question is that if MetLife is determining how the employees or who's eligible to go out, how is it determined when they are able to come back or eligible to be returned to work? That would be through the doctor's notes that the employees are required to get if they're going out for their own medical leave or the leave for caring for somebody else. And so they are still required, just like for FMLA, to provide that documentation, and that would determine when an employee is eligible to return to work.
And the communication
Commissioner
between MetLife and the county, then the responsibility is clear. We have a contract with them. I guess I would have expected them to do it all.
Good question, Mr. Johnson, thank you. So the communication will come from MetLife to our HR business partners that handle our leaves. We have 2 of them within the HR department. And so they will be determining, because they will also be getting the same paperwork that MetLife gets. So the communication will come from MetLife, but we will also have our paperwork to show when those employees are eligible to be returning.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. It has to do with the definition of a family member. Reading multiple pages, there's a lot of vagary around some things, and that's why I'm concerned about this. The last sentence of that definition paragraph says, "And any individual who has a personal relationship with the employee that creates an expectation and reliance that the employee will care for the individual without compensation." So I'm wondering if victive kin come under that category and how broad a reach there might be in terms of definition of family.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. The way that that's determined and the way that the county is managing that is within Workday, the employees are going to have to go ahead and enter their request for a leave. And so we have a number of different questions we ask, and one of them is this for a family member? And then it says son, daughter, and those kind of traditional definitions. And then it says, if it's for somebody else, who is that person? Because employees only get one person per year to dedicate as that other person. And so we're capturing that as a county to make sure that employees aren't coming back and saying, I need 4 weeks for my next door neighbor, I need 4 weeks for my friend in Duluth. So we're capturing that as a county to make sure that we keep track of that.
Good, okay, and that really was my concern, whether or not we had sort of an audit trail, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Would it be appropriate to, like, a 3-month review on the program because it's new? It'd be interesting what we're seeing and what we're experiencing with the paid family leave.
Well, Mr. Chair, we're certainly going to keep track of it and follow it. So
I'm
we
talking
can-
about
We
us.
can get back to the
Right.
board at some point. Yep.
If you could, like 3 months, that would be helpful, I think. Commissioner Notch?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. As long as we're on it, on page 6, there's a sentence that says, "Paid time off shall not accrue during unpaid leave of absence of over 160 hours," which would be the 20 weeks, right? So if you're on leave, is this saying you'd still accrue PTO?
Interesting question. Thank you, Commissioner Notch. The way our policy currently stands is employees who go out on an unpaid leave will receive their full PTO accrual for the first 160 hours, or basically 2 pay cycles. So we're treating everyone who goes out on a paid FMLA leave or FML leave as those first 160 hours as being an unpaid leave, so they will receive their full PTO grant for those 2 pay cycles. After that, if an employee chooses to use their own PTO to top them off from their MetLife payment percentage to 100%, then they would earn a prorated amount of PTO based on the PTO that they used.
It
You're
just seems-
smiling and
It
laughing.
just confuses me.
Because it's
that
confusing,
you're
and I
on
get it.
paid
and I-
leave
And do you
and you're
realize
gonna
you said
accrue.
that by memory?
I did.
Kind of concerns me, but God bless you that you know what's going on.
Yeah, it just seems if you're on unpaid leave that you're going to accrue.
And the difference between that and a regular FMLA is that for when you go out on an FMLA, you're using your own PTO to pay yourself at 100%. This payment doesn't come from the county at 100%. It
Right.
comes from the state because that's who we're paying our MetLife. And so we don't view that as county pay. That's why they aren't receiving their full PTO grant the full time that they're out on PFML.
But you're still accruing the liability.
Well, this definitely will be interesting, and of course, a lot of employees did not understand that they'd be paying half of this, so it costs the county 800,000. Employees are paying 400 of that. So, but this will be hard, I think, to manage for businesses and the county, because you've got to keep the position open. You can't just get trained people to fill some positions, and it's going to create problems. But hopefully, they're going to be open to changing it. But that's why I'd like to be kept the board abreast on what you're seeing, because this is new for everybody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the motion was made and seconded to approve item E6. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. And then E14, Melissa, on the EVA Just thought that the public should know a little bit about it. One, it's a substantial investment. Two, it's certainly new technology, so.
Sure is. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Melissa Huberty, I'm the Human Services Administrator, and I have with me Mike Pooler, who is one of our Human Services Directors over the Public Assistance or Economic Supports Division. And we did actually present at the Association of Minnesota Counties last week on not just this subject, but the incredible work of this division during the last 2 years, actually. We started this process coming out of COVID with the 40% plus increase in applications or requests for applications for assistance for 3 or 4 years in a row. We had to make a lot of changes. Eva is our most recent change that we made during this year. She was implemented in late May. She is our new AI assistant. And she has 3 different products to her. It's Eva Companion, Eva Interview, and Eva Phones. And Eva Companion, all 3 of them save significant staff time and actually have helped get us to the point where we have been able to process as many applications we have with about the same number of FTEs working on this. So just briefly, I'll explain the first 2, and then I'll hand it over to Mike just to do a brief discussion over the phones, which is fascinating too. But Eva Companion is the support to the workers. I think Mike told me that we have close to like half, like 50%, or I don't know what exactly percentage, but almost 50% new staff in this division. And it takes like 18 months to learn all the processes to actually be functioning at a pretty high level in economic assistance. And so what Eva does, there's a lot of questions about policy that workers have to know. And you would always have to be waiting on other workers, get off the phone, or supervisors or someone. Eva Companion answers those questions on policy, saving significant time and helping new staff to train new staff. So Eva Interview is, it's required that every time there's an interview, you must read the rights and responsibilities, which I will state is a morale killer for staff because you have to read all of the rights and responsibilities. And of course, when you have a lot of staff, you could have some inconsistencies. So Eva reads this and saves up to about an average of about 10 minutes per interview per staff. And there are, I think, hundreds of hours we have saved. Is it about 800 hours? I think the last time we checked, but he can talk about it when he's talking about the phones. But many, many hours for staff, and helps with the morale because they can do the work while they're waiting for Eva to read the rights and responsibilities. She hands it over to the worker, and then they can process the cases. And then the third product is Eva Phones. I'm going to have Mike Pooler talk about that because that is one part of Eva that has been the biggest help to us, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Mike Pooler, Gateway Services Director. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just to follow up on a little bit of an explanation on rights and responsibilities. Every interview we do, the client has rights and responsibilities. It is our job to read those rights and responsibilities to the client, and they need to attest that they've heard it and understood it. So going back to the fraud and different things that you're hearing in the media, that is our job to explain that they are responsible for reporting changes. They're responsible for understanding things. So we're saving that 9 to 10 minutes a call. That is saving a ton of time for our staff to be able to case note and prep for the next interview, which they're short on time. So going into Eva Phones, currently we've been up and running for about 6 months. We do have a few hundred hours of phone time recorded. Eva basically is a new employee, so we have to train her. So we have quality control assurances. We have a dashboard that we have our staff monitoring. So as a call comes in and Eva's giving answers, if she's giving the wrong answer, we're able to basically mark it as a wrong answer, feed it the right information. Our vendor then can go in and actually make the AI engine stronger. It's building that brain of the AI. So we've been going, I would say, cautiously up until now. And instead of having Eva be the front facing, which is the goal in the long term, as you know, Commissioner Bertram, communication, us answering the phone has been our biggest issue. So to be able to train Eva to a point where she's that first point of contact for all of our clients, to have less transfers, less people bouncing around between divisions. There's a lot of confusing terminology in human services and a lot of crossover between divisions. So to have her be smart enough to get it to the right place the first time instead of getting 5 or 6 bounce arounds is obviously best for the clients. So right now, she's the last resort. So you go through the phone tree, and if you bounce out and you hit 0, it goes to Eva. She tries to address the question as best possible. So in the future, in the coming year, we'll get her out front where we replace the phone tree, and she just has a conversation to get people to the right place faster. Part of that training that we're doing is she's able to actually take information from clients so that we don't have to have a staff person call back. So as another thing in the coming year, they'll be working on is metrics. So return on investment, right? We know the phone savings currently, but there's a trickle down that happens that every time a staff person doesn't have to touch a piece of paper or collect a piece of information or play phone tag with a client for a week, that there's a savings that is pretty, I think will be substantial, and that'll be our goal for the coming years to build that out.
And she works 24/7.
24/7, you basically start speaking in your own language, and she's able to adjust on the fly. So if you call in and you're speaking Spanish, she's going to pick up that you're speaking Spanish and make an adjustment.
Yeah, and I would just also add that she is really empathetic no matter what you say to her. So when people call in and sometimes they're not on their best day, she will just say, I'm sorry, you're having a bad day, and continue on. So it's really helpful.
Does that work?
Yeah, I guess so.
And then I assume she's not eligible for paid family leave, so we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about that.
Correct.
Correct.
There's a savings. And she's working remotely, I assume, or is she in the building? Do we tap into her on the computer?
She's everywhere.
I mean, how are you tapping into her, like on the computer or
Yes.
like wow? And then what I'm not clear on is what's this company? What do they actually do for the $213,000?
So TIPCO is the company that is the brains behind this. The excitement, I think, from my perspective of being a technology person, but also working in human services, these are past human services employees that are in the technology field. So when we got the sales pitch, so to speak, they know our work. So imagine working with an IT company and trying to teach them human services, the time that it would take to do that. They jumped off at a starting point where they already know the incoming work. So what do? Part of the contract is every improvement is included, right? So there's a new release almost every single month. So there's release notes that are put out with that. They're taking our feedback, obviously, things that aren't working well, or things that we want to see. All of that goes into the research and development and then back to us. And then as more counties come on board, Olmsted County is going live right now. Now we'll have Olmsted County, so the teaching part of it that we're talking about, Olmsted County has a lot of smart people. So now Stearns and Olmsted, we're gonna have people teaching. It should be exponential as we get the intelligence built, because we'll have more and more people putting the brain power into it.
I assume the next highest call volume would be the sheriff's office dispatching. So is this something that could be applied to dispatching? Are we looking to doing this someplace else? Does anybody know, or?
Speaking for human services first, right now it's in gateway services, but I think the implications would be in the rest of the department as well. So again, she's answering the phone and getting to the right place, but Eva interview right now, she's only reading the rights and responsibilities. The next step will be the interview is a set of questions. It is not our job to lead somebody to a place. It's our job to watch for inconsistencies, and it's our job to answer the questions and fill out the form if we're doing an interview. So she will start to take on interviews, which will again allow eligibility staff to do processing instead of both. So I can't speak to the time frame, but that's definitely the next goals. So child support interviews as well. There's a handful that I think that are on the docket.
Yeah, and go ahead.
It would be interesting if the sheriff's department, dispatching, if this is something that's being used or could be used to alleviate some of those calls and as we use the technology. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you. First, I'd like to move this item, and then I have a comment.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. There's a lot of possibilities. I know the Sheriff's Department's using some interesting technology as well. A couple things. I'm so excited about this. It's thinking about the challenges we have with recruiting workforce and certainly paying for workforce. This will be basically less than the cost of 2 people if we include benefits. We want to keep and retain our staff, so taking away some of these more rote kinds of things so they can actually do the work will make a difference. And it's exciting hearing how many other counties, as well as the state, are interested in this now. So I recognize you didn't re-bring it up today, but even them being able to go through wages and salary change or job changes, this ought to be helping us with HR 1. Is that correct? With the what we're going to need to do. I mean, we still need all of the technology overhaul, but this ought to be helpful. Is that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Clark, if you're referencing sort of the workforce in general, especially in human services, what this does is help the workers that we're paying, the live workers, to do the more complex, higher thinking work of the job and do more of that basic function. And that, of course, saves a lot of time. And we know that there's going to be a lot of changes in the next year with the federal changes on both Medicaid and SNAP, and a lot more administrative burden on counties across the board. And what we're hoping is that she'll mitigate some of that so that we don't need to keep adding staff in response to administrative changes at the federal government. Now, we still don't know the impacts of that, so no doubt we'll be back in 2026 to provide updates.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Clark?
to that point, I mean, in some ways, once she learns it, will able to be a little bit more nimble than some of
Yes.
us just absorbing change today, change
Yeah.
next week, change the week after, so that our people, as you're saying, can really focus on the human beings and what their needs are.
Correct.
Commissioner Johnson?
Just two quick things. I don't know if you mentioned this because you guys talk really fast, but it is in the paperwork here that you've already saved over 800 hours of staff time, and this was since spring, I think, and that's really commendable and supports what Commissioner Clark was talking about, and I think it's important for the public to understand that. The second thing is that artificial intelligence is only as smart as the people who are putting information into it, and our staff working with TIPCO, I think, are on the right path here. Congratulate you for bringing this technology.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Commissioner Persky?
I've got just a couple questions. First of all, it's nice to see that, some of these folks that are calling in that have questions, and they've been waiting for answers, but we really don't, it doesn't apply to human services. And so hopefully she'll be able to say,
Correct.
that we're not, handling that part of the county, or be able to dismiss them instead of them thinking that they're in the right place and going under the right avenue. Question though is, that we do have a good number of people from old school. And so some of us that, call in and get the automated response oftentimes have questions, and we don't hear our question in there. Will it have a point where it says talk to a representative?
Yeah, Commissioner, like Mr. Chair, Commissioner Persky, that's already happening.
Okay.
Yeah, where if she can't answer the question, she'll try a few times to get clarity, but then she bounces you out to a worker.
Okay, that's good. And then also just on the policy, when they hear the policy and, it's routine, if they've already heard the policy, can they say, can they get rid of having to sit through that 5 to 10 minutes?
No.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Persky, it's the rules, right?
Yeah.
So it's required, again, just from the fraud sense and making sure they're protected, we're protected. And so every interview that happens, so basically what Eva does that would be similar to a staff person is she reads through the rights and responsibilities and then asks for verbal attestation that is recorded. So it's kept, audio files kept. So basically it's name, date of birth, and maybe one more piece of information.
Right.
And that adheres to USDA rules. So that was, again, working with TIPCO, one of the good things about working with them is knowing the work. They were able to go straight to the federal level and not dilly-dally state to state on what the rules are, because this is a federal program. Right. So if she doesn't get the verbal attestation, name, date of birth, and the information she's asking for, she'll warn them that they might not be in compliance and that they won't be approved. Mm-hmm. And you can see that in the transcripts that we have that does happen.
Okay. Well, I guess my concern is that on your fourth or your fifth call, and that each time you have to sit through this, is there a way in which we could know that they've responded to say, do you agree? Have you understood this? And then on the next time they call, the number gets identified and say, have you heard this? And they say yes, and they move on, and then they don't have to listen to the policy. Because I can see how that's going to be very frustrating for people. Right.
Yep, absolutely. I apologize for the miscommunication. That's only at the time of the interview. So all other calls, you don't have to listen to that. So as an individual applying for a program and we have to interview you, at the end of the interview, you have to attest that you've understood the rights and responsibilities. If you're just calling into the system, that is not for every client. Okay. That's just after following through with Our interview times are either 30 minutes or 60 minutes, depending if it's family or individual. So at the end of that cycle, you would listen to it. Just calling in for the public, no one has to hear that messaging.
Okay.
And we're used to having to listen to somebody for 10 minutes, even if we don't want to, so it's really not that big of a change. When they're calling in and it's not Health and Human Services, and they say she says you're in the wrong, by the way, why do they say it's a she? I'm just curious.
Electronic virtual assistant is what
Got it.
EVA stands for.
So Eva's good. So if we get another one, we'll have to name that one.
There is an EVI coming, and I don't remember what that stands for.
Okay.
But again, the research and development and the money that's going in, I mean, there are lots of positive changes coming on the new contract. There's 2 or 3 new things that we don't need to hold the board meeting up for, but a lot of positive things coming.
So if it's not your department, is she intelligent enough to say you need to call the sheriff's office or you need to call emergency services, or I'm just curious?
I think that's a good question. I would say it's a coin toss. There's sometimes when I've been really impressed at how smart she is about using the website to get somebody to the right place, and there's other times where she's confused within her own department. So as we're watching the transcripts, those are things that we'll continue to teach her. So depending on the key language people are using, we basically create documentation for her to ask the appropriate follow-up questions, and then help clarify that terminology to get to the right place.
How many people are overseeing this? You know, how many people are watching her and correcting her? 5, 3, a team?
Yeah,
I
I can
would say we-
probably help answer that. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I mean, we have a number of staff that are really looking at it, but actually we have support staff across the department. We've asked, can you do the first 15 minutes of your day and just review transcripts? And so we have a lot of staff doing a little bit of time to try to review it. And also then that helps her learn, because not everybody knows everything about every division of human services. So when you have support staff across the whole department answering or helping her, so we've trained quite a few people, but they do a little bit of time, like 15 minutes a day or something.
If we wanted to have an experience of interacting with her, is there a way for us to
Yeah.
do that? You maybe could send us, I mean, I'd be intrigued that,
Yeah, we can
and then you might have to prep us on asking a couple of questions that would be legitimate, that would get us into the call. I'd like to experience that interaction just to get a feel for it. If you don't mind, you can email something.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we actually at our presentation had an example of this. I'll email that too, so you can get just a fake example. But you can also call the number, although we've been answering the phone a lot too. So every time I tell someone that, we actually answer the phone. So I'm like, so probably better just to try this out. I'll email it to you and you can get a sense of how she sounds and what kinds of questions she answers.
Only better than getting her would be getting Melissa, so
Yeah.
it's worth a shot. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve item E14. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you for
All right,
that.
thank you.
Next, we have Shelley and Becky for the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Plan. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
I didn't say anything about your third staff person, I'm sorry.
We'll get an introduction as
Okay.
well. So Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director, and Emily. I started with Emily, and I was looking at Becky. Becky and Emily are both here, and I'll have Becky review the item with you.
Okay,
Good morning,
good morning.
Commissioners. Becky Schlorf, Environmental Services Division Supervisor, and Emily Forboard, she's Environmental Specialist overseeing the water planning and aquatic invasive species. So this item before you today is for the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative. There is a watershed-based implementation fund grant that we have for fiscal year '24. And as you recall, we are the fiscal agent for the collaborative. The policy committee met in November and decided to recommend for approval to all of the boards the work plan revision. This revision is to reallocate funding as well as add additional priority watershed areas to make sure the dollars get spent and spent on projects that are ready to go. The details of that work plan change are laid out here for you in your packet in Exhibit A to the resolution, and I or Emily can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so this is a renewal or like this is what? Is this
Mr. Chair,
new,
this
or-
is a revision. So
Okay.
the state has already approved our work plan for this grant. And so anytime the collaborative decides that they need or want to make a change to that work plan in the dollars or in the scope of the work plan, which in this case is the priority areas, it does need approval from all of the board members as well, of course, as fiscal agent. And then, of course, the Board of Water and Soil Resources has to approve that, and then we can go forward. So this is actually, what I'm looking for here is an approval to submit this work plan change to the Board of Water and Soil Resources and then approve the resolution to adopt the work plan change once the state has approved it. Sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
And the city of Rockville just received a grant. Is that have something to do with this or not?
The City of Rockville's grant, I'm not sure that that has anything to do with this or not.
Okay.
This project, though, is stormwater related. I thought maybe we were the only source of grant funding coming from it, and the rest was taxes, but I'm not sure on that whole
Okay.
detail.
Commissioner Notch?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And the reason this one always has to come forward is whenever there's a change, set up as the collaborative requires all, I think it's 9 entities to approve these changes versus if it was a different entity structure, these wouldn't have to come forward. I think, what's the latest one is,
Mississippi St. Cloud or Mississippi Sartell.
right,
And those are, the Mississippi St. Cloud is a joint powers entity which operates on its own.
right. So yeah, that's why you see these coming back, because whenever they change it, have to bring it back to the 9 entities.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, also, we are the fiscal agent, Stearns County is, and so then you have to take more action than even some of the other partners in the collaborative.
Okay.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Notch moves approval of the submittal of the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Work Plan and the resolution that can be done in one motion.
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Clark seconds. Any other questions or input? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, Emily, it's not as hard as what they told you it would be. Next, we have the Public Works, Mike Decker. We finally get to hear him. I've been trying to call things off of the consent agenda for months to get him up here, so here he
There
is.
we go.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Mike Decker, Acting County Engineer. Today I'm bringing you a resolution to adopt authorizing eminent domain for our project SP 073-070030. It's a project intersection improvement project, County Road 32 and Trunk Highway 4, north of Lake Henry. There's 7 parcels on the project. We've been negotiating with people since July. 6 of them have signed. 1 has not signed yet. This is a federally funded project, so we need the right-of-way by April 15th. So it takes 3 months for eminent domain, so I'm asking to start the process now, and we will have the right-of-way secured if we do not have a signature by then, and our project can move forward to construction.
It's unfortunate that it's come to this. You certainly have worked hard on this. Mike and Chad May and Commissioner Notch and I had a meeting with the Watershed District on the pond, and, you know, you've done a lot of work and you've resolved these issues. This issue, as you know, Mike, firsthand, it really has less to do with the project than it has to do with the family situation. One of the brothers passed away, and now there's several people that are involved, and it's more internal, you know, battles than it is to do with the highway. And so, well, none of us like eminent domain, but we got to keep moving for the good of the whole. So, yep.
We'll keep negotiating and talking with this person, but I got to get the process started to save our project.
Commissioner Notch?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll move approval with a comment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Notch, second by Commissioner Johnson. Now Commissioner Notch has a comment.
I was just going to mention, Mr. Chair, similar to what you said, you know, Mike has been in discussions with this family, and, you know, hopefully the discussions keep going and we get the signature before eminent domain has to go through.
The hope is once they get served, they'll take it more serious, but time will tell.
Yep.
Because it certainly does cost I don't know what it costs, but if you could give an estimate at some point, I'd like to let the family know if you can't get this figured out, you're costing the county X number of dollars. I
Okay.
don't know if that would make a difference or not, but won't hurt probably.
Yeah.
So, I lost track now. Was a motion made?
Yes.
Yep, made and seconded.
I have a question. Mike, how big a parcel are we actually talking about?
It's about 1 acre of permanent right-of-way and half an acre of temporary.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's no arguing about dollars or area. It's, like Jeff said, it's an internal family
Okay.
issue.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And I just want to say, Mike, thank you for filling in as actor director. This will probably the last time we'll see you in that capacity.
Okay,
Wasn't that hard, was it?
not too bad. I'm still standing.
Thank you for doing
Thanks.
that. Next item would be Mike Williams, who was nice enough to wear a tie today.
Well, you all look so beautiful that I thought I better at least.
You thought you had to step it up a notch.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 4 items under administration. The first is adopting the resolution approving the 2026 budget and tax levy. And as you know, we start this process in April or May with the board getting its review started in July. And we're about to conclude, or you need to conclude that process today. We put this budget together with 2027 in mind. We have a large contingency built in here for whatever might happen to us in 26, and that, of course, can help us in 27 as well. So we have that large contingency. We've used very little fund balance with this budget, with this 2026 budget. In fact, and hoping that we'll have a good year in 26 and be able to add to the fund balance. So what's before you this morning is the same budget that was presented to you 2 weeks ago at the Truth and Taxation meeting. It has a 5.2% increase in the tax levy. The tax rate will decrease very slightly, but it will decrease. And as you saw, Stearns County is one of the lowest increases we're seeing of counties in the state this year, actually. And so we think we've thought ahead with the 26 budget, 227, and of course, we'll start this all again in a few months.
Or sooner. Commissioner Clark.
I'll move approval just so we can get things going.
Okay, motion's been made to approve the budget. Is there a second? Commissioner Johnson seconds it. Okay. Did you have a question or?
Well, I suppose, I know that thank you, Mr. Chair. I know the Budget Committee has spent a lot of time thinking through this, working with each of us, working with staff groups. This is hard, there's a lot of conversation in the last few weeks just about how hard all of this is for our property owners, particularly our homeowners, and hopefully that will help us this coming year at the legislature with really continuing to push that the state find other ways to pay for services that really are state services that we might be administering. And I suppose in some ways it's a little solace, and it certainly doesn't make the 0 to 2% or 1 to 2% that you brought up, Commissioner Notch. But we are one of the lowest, and I've been heartened that we've got residents who've been listening and seem to understand more so than they used to the myriad of pressures that are being faced largely through unfunded mandates on counties. So appreciate the work.
Any other comments? If not, the motion's been made to adopt a resolution approving the 2026 budget and tax levy at 5.2%. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item is the legislative priorities.
Yes, we have a summary of what we're suggesting are the legislative priorities for this year. We would hope that we can arrange a meeting with our delegation sometime in January. This is a late start to the legislative session this year. It starts on February 17. I think we'll begin to explore with the legislators if sometime perhaps after your second meeting in January will work, because I think we've we've got plenty on our plate for the first meeting in January, or perhaps we would have to even pick a special time to meet with them. But we'll try to arrange all that. And that means that if you're uncomfortable or, want to massage these or want to push it to another meeting, that's fine. But we were at least hoping that we could have a discussion and get some feedback and get started on finalizing this, if not totally approved today. And Jill is here. She worked on this. So if we want Jill to quickly walk through these, or if you just want us to answer questions, that's fine. But she can run through them pretty quickly, I think.
I think we've seen them, so if we have questions, we can ask. The only question I have is, are they identified in order of priority, or is it just a coincidence?
I think somewhat they are in order of priority.
Okay.
We want to focus on the Justice Center. The modernization is very important to all counties this year. So you've got those human services items that are really costly and really important. That's why we listed those first, and the Justice Center first as well.
The sales tax, I think, obviously is going to continue to be a challenge again, but maybe we really need to dig into, can we do it differently or whatever, because that would be a huge financial benefit. So and I think in flux with trying to get the members together with all the retirements and people moving, it's going to be a stretch, I think, to get everybody together and keep them focused for this session with our needs, because once you see you're not running again, sometimes it changes things. So I think the sooner, and you're right, if we can't do it at a board meeting, I think we need to do it, whenever they can do it, if we can get them all together. But the tax, I'm not sure who to talk to about that, even beyond our delegation, of how to prep that differently with a chance of, because last year, what were there, like 15 of them? And there weren't, out of the 15, I would say at least 8 of them were more in line like ours. Some of them were a little bit out there, but I can't remember. I don't think they improved any of them, did they?
I don't
I
think
can't
any of them,
remember that
none
they
of them got.
improved any of them. So what can we do that would separate us, I guess, would be the point. I think, Commissioner Notch?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. One thing I was just going to mention is would it be prudent to keep our pulse on the balance of score funding? Even if it's just comments that, because it seems like that one has dropped, that 30% or 27% has kind of dropped off. I mean, in the environment right now, chances are that that's shelved for now. But I think if we meet with them, I think we still should make the comment that score money is still there.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that.
No.
Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, thanks for the work on this, and I guess these are all great. The three that are right after our sales tax piece are the AMC priorities for this year. I mean, that's how important they are. The board decided not to go with 5 or 10, to go with 3. One item, if we are making it a little bit longer, so we're talking about it, might be putting 322nd Street on there. There is a live bill. The city and the townships, I believe, are still looking at it, and one of the many people leaving is planning on working on it. So I think we've got, perhaps since we've covered both 13 and 14 and that tiny bit of road, it would be good to have that on there to talk about it too.
I'll respond to that,
I
Mr. Chair.
thought you might.
Yeah, last APO meeting that we
Commissioner
had, it was a very important piece, very similar to Town Line Road, and it's not going to happen without help from the state. And so we like that. Just with our lobbying efforts, again, it's nice to have the priorities, but I'm going to just kind of put it into an NFL draft. When you know you're not going to get those players, that doesn't mean you can't pick up players that you still would like to pick up when the first ones are not taken. So it's always good to have things that are down in your thoughts as far as getting legislation passed that might be coming up from other counties, other lobbying groups. And so let's keep that in mind, that there are things down the list that could be achieved, and sometimes they need support. So always keep that in mind.
Mr. Chair, and we do need to be nimble during the session. Of course, there's things that we might oppose that that arise or things that we want to support. And one thing that we're talking about doing differently this year is have a sheet for each one of these priorities. So if we're meeting with someone and we want to emphasize those one or two things, we can just leave that with them alongside kind of the list. So I think we'll have a little better communication tools this year as well.
I would just, again, 322nd would be good to have on there. It's going to be on us when we go to Washington, so.
The one paragraph approach, I think, is good because, again, attention span is limited. And then if they want more information, to have a fact sheet on that item, that might be helpful. The one thing that I don't think is clearly expressed, and I don't know that it's a specific initiative, but, last year when we went down several times, I always made the point of if you want to cut the budget, God bless you, cut the budget, but don't put it on us and mandate the program. So if you're paying for the coffee and you're going to stop paying for the coffee, don't make us provide coffee. That part, is that in here or should that be in here? That's a more global approach, but it's, that hopefully they'll understand that when they start cutting funding and just continue the mandate of the program, that it's affecting us. I mean, I would think they'd get that, but in the same token, we got it from the feds and the state to the tune of $2 million. So I don't know how we should or could identify that as a simple concept.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. with
Commissioner
the-
Clark.
Maybe that's something that could be like an opening paragraph or something, because I think that is a very big deal.
And maybe that's a good point, Commissioner Clark, or maybe an ending paragraph.
ending.
That whatever we give, I always like to personalize things as much as we can. I think we should sign whatever we're giving to the legislators personally. I mean, there aren't that many of them. And if you had our names and we had our phone numbers and email addresses, and then we personally signed them, again, it's a personal approach. And I think at least my approach with legislators is going to be a much more desperate plea of saying, please, don't be doing this, work with us, and that concept. So just another thought, but we maybe could do that in the ending paragraph of saying, if you cut the program, cut the mandate to work with us or whatever. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. I think the human services technology and the mitigation of federal cost shifts in SNAP and Medicaid are really important and will always be really important. This piggybacking on the budget that we just passed, contingency fund of $1 million may not go anywhere in 26 and 27, depending on our ability to solve these issues. So these really need to be top priorities from my perspective.
Mr. Chair.
Mike?
Just going back to the kind of the general, mandates, and we used to put a little one of our priorities, and remember we had that graph that shows how the tax levy is taking on so much more of government in general, property tax levy, I mean, and so we can go back and revisit that, and maybe something like that we can put in there.
Maybe you want to put, in case you didn't see this last time, here it is again. Take more time to read
But
this.
I think we
please.
just backed off that because we were focusing on specific
Right.
issues, but now, that I agree, that would be a good thing to put in there
So, Mr.
as we went through last year particularly.
To that point,
Commissioner
Mr.
Clark.
Chair. Yeah, so Dr. Williams, especially when, for the overall one, the one that shows how the state share has come down in our property tax, but perhaps when we're doing the one-pagers on this, and I think it's a really good idea on each of these, it would be helpful for them to also see how that's shifted. For some of these, it's a pretty big shift.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Persky.
non-funded or underfunded mandates, that plays well also into the wetland bank that's underfunded.
Yeah.
And that goes to that wetland replacement ratio. So.
Good point.
Okay.
We'll
With those
retool.
tweaks,
Yep.
with those tweaks, I think we still can move the legislative priorities with those tweaks, I would think.
Yeah, I'll
So,
move it. Move
Commissioner
approval with
Clark.
those tweaks. I don't know if there's an official way of saying that, but
I
with
think that-
staff ability to make the changes we just talked about.
Okay, so motion's been made to approve the 2026 legislative priorities. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Notch seconds it. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Oh,
Next
okay,
item
Mr. Chair,
is, yes.
just because I wrote it down and I forgot to mention it, but remember one county said they have legislative breakfast when they discuss it?
Yeah, that was a good
That
idea.
might be a idea to maybe draw them in, food. Just a thought.
Yep.
And-
We'll put Commissioner Notch on the program planning. He can pick the food.
You can flip the pancakes.
And bacon will be on the
Flip
menu.
pancakes,
Oh,
can't
yeah.
you? Oh, yeah.
We'll go to Charlie's.
And Mr. Chair, with that, I mean, AMC has made the request that we do a human services technology demonstration in early January. So I don't know if there's a way to pair them, but food would definitely perhaps help with getting people to come see that.
I think the former executive director of the Heart Center should pick the food.
You don't need to eat the bacon, Bob. You just have to have it on the menu.
No salt, lots of fruit.
So we, I don't know how long.
I love it.
Could they do a demonstration like 10 minutes? I mean, again, attention span, I know this sounds parochial, but attention spans are limited, but that's, the counties that have done that, it's been extremely
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
powerful.
they're not doing them in 10 minutes. They're actually taking the time it needs, and they're getting good outcomes from people. And we've got people who are either in powerful or want to be in more powerful spaces. So, you know, they've got it down to a decent amount. They don't need to sit here for hours or anything, but they're going to be more than 10 minutes.
Maybe
It's-
we could do the overall presentation and leave that towards the end and hope that somehow, I just don't want,
Right.
that's an important part, but I don't want that to overshadow the bigger picture. So
Yeah,
we'll
and-
figure, you'll
And Mr. Chair,
figure
the
that
staff
out.
will figure out they may be 2 different days, but that is something we're a pretty noticeable hole right now and where those have been done. And they wanted it this fall, and then they asked for it in January. So I know that you all are working on that.
And that would be a stretch, I think, 2 different days. I think if we can get him here once, I think we'd be lucky, but we figure that out.
Yep.
Good idea. Kate, we voted on that, right?
Yep.
Yep. So then the next item would be our favorite topic of commissioner salaries.
That's funny. That's just how I was going to call it, your favorite topic. So annually, as you know, you need to adopt a resolution establishing your own salary. And then we publish that. And we created the resolution this year with a salary of $50,400, which is a 9% increase over your current salary. Obviously, you can do whatever you think is right, but we did a comparison with a number of comparable counties. You can see that you're considerably below the average. And so the reason that the 9% is suggested is that our employees are receiving a 5%. Most of our employees are within the STEP system, and so they do go through a step. The highest part of that is sometimes 4%. And so that's why the resolution is created that way. And if you were to do that maybe for a few years in a row, perhaps you'll begin to catch up and be a little more comparable to those other counties. Obviously, that's just one suggestion. The board can do whatever you want.
Okay, members? Commissioner Notch?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd be more in tune to sticking with the 5%, kind of making it comparable to the levy. To me, it just seems more prudent to not ramp this up. I mean, I'm sometimes not sure the lanes and the agreed upon percentage increases are the best, but that's just my opinion. I think if we stuck with 5%, even if we did it over years, I think we can be okay.
And I agree with that. As you've heard me say every time when I was on the council, we got what the employees got, and they got 3%. And we can get into the steps and lanes, but that's a little bit more dicier than what I think we want to get into. But no matter what we do, there'll be criticism. We all certainly work well over what we're getting paid. That's not what we're doing this for. 5% would be $2,300. 5 members would be $10,000, whatever that ends up being, $11,000. So out of a $212 million budget, certainly this isn't going to make or break us, but it's a signal, I think, and it's being reasonable. And part of my concern always has been, 1, do it even with the employees, and 2, let's keep the salary at a place that younger people and people with jobs can still do it. Because, you know, we all know, we've seen over the years, my lifetime, there was a lot of retired farmers or business people that could only afford the time and, you know, the pay. They didn't need to get paid much or didn't. They just did it. Well, that's changed. I mean, we are what are we? 12th largest county?
14.
No, we're
Seventh.
seventh, aren't we?
Seventh largest county, $210 million, $212 million budget, 1,000 employees. We all know the time that we put into this. And again, that's great. And some people recognize that, some people won't. That's great too. But I think 5% would meet my goals of keeping it that someone in the future can do this, someone younger and employed can do this. And if we don't keep up with that's going to start going backwards. Commissioner Clark.
Sure. Do you want to go first? That's okay. Okay. So I'll make my annual comment. So we, at some point, need to have some way, like we do studies on what our staff should be making in each. So this isn't about increases, like what your annual increase is, what you should be making. And the hard part for us is our comparables are significantly higher for us. There's a few on here that are much smaller counties, and there's at least a couple of them that also get per diems. And so they are making out or more. And we have a very complex budget, as was just brought up. It is almost impossible for somebody younger, unless you either own your own business or you have a very flexible schedule. You almost can't do it. We had several people who wanted to do this while they were working full-time, and it's like, you can't do that. That's not what this job is anymore. It's not the job it used to be. So my hope is that in the future, we can get something working either with Micah, which is probably more likely than AMC, to figure out how do you really categorize what it should be? Because we're pretty far off from Sherburne, we're pretty far off, and we're way far off from Wright County, and that's without even getting to some of the others. So I know that because we went 10 years without the previous boards doing anything, that's part of what put us in a different place. But for the future, I think we need some other tools. So I personally really appreciate you putting something together. I support doing 5%. I mean, I get it, given what's going on right now. But we need some other ways of looking at this so we can actually get the board where it should be.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Bertram. This is not a priority for me at all, and I haven't been involved up to this point. I actually am amazed that at some point we haven't figured out a way to get an independent commission to decide this kind of stuff, and that it wouldn't be our own responsibility. That's typically what happens in work environments. I do think a little bit about the future. I think as the county expands, and by the way, I said 14th because I was thinking of the 1,300 square miles, the size of the county. I'm sorry. But I think as the work expands and gets more complex, we want the time and talent of younger, brighter people out there who are going to be elected to these positions to really have a passion for doing it and be able to do it from a financial perspective. So I think I agree with Commissioner Clark in terms of somebody looking at something that says we need to ramp this up a little bit. I know some of you are working, but I suspect that even with that, you're still working 30 hours and 40 hours some weeks on this. And I think compensation is a way to encourage people. It's a way to recognize them. It's a way to get them to work harder and be more committed. Sometimes it is a variable. And I think about the future. I'm fine with 5%. Like I said, this isn't a priority for me. But I do think we need to lay out a plan for the future.
And rational people understand that, like for me, it's 45 minutes one way to drive here.
Yes.
So just driving to a meeting here, for me, is 45 minutes. Thank God for cell phones. And I know I don't text Sheriff Sauk, well, I text verbally, but that's a lot of time. You know, you're fortunate, the three of you are fortunate because you don't have to go that far, but that's part of this. But 40 hours would be, that's on the low side. I mean, I figured it out on my time. I'm getting less than minimum wage. And again, I'm not complaining. I knew what it was when I ran. But on the same token, it worked well on the council. I think we should, personally, I think we should vote on our own salaries, just because it's transparent, and then we can take the criticism. And like I said, there'll be criticism. I can read some of the Facebook posts already on the extreme, group of how terrible this is, but you know what? The general public doesn't buy into that, and they understand, I think they understand the commitment we've made and that future commissioners will need to make. Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, and I certainly wasn't suggesting we wouldn't vote, but a commission or something that helps us to determine it. That's how we determine everybody else's salaries. We don't actually have a good way of doing this, and that's really hard. And very much appreciate the 45 minutes you take to come in, and that does put time. And each of us have different assignments. I'm very glad to have some of my assignments that take me to the cities multiple times a month, but that's obviously 3 hours out of my day too. So we all are driving, we're all trying to figure it out. And like you said, thank God for cell phones, because voicing, hands-free, Sheriff. But we can at least get some other work done, but it's a lot. And to do this job well, you do need to actually put the time in. And as people put in time and develop expertise, like you were just saying, Commissioner Johnson, we want people who are going to be able to help us with wrestling and solving problems and bringing in expertise. So for the future, but for now, so I think we need a motion.
I think, and before we do that, just quickly, people ask, every once in a while it'll come up, what is it, 46, what, currently?
252, I think.
$46,252. I mean, people ask, what do you make? And when anybody's ever asked me that, they didn't look at me and go, wow, that's a lot. But they do ask, so to be transparent, and we do get paid mileage when we go to meetings within the county. We do not get paid meal reimbursements or per diems or things like that when we're in the county. When we leave the county, we do. But again, just to be transparent, that's the program. And I'm glad we don't get per diem. The counties that do get per diem, that's another 15 to 20,000. So they say the salary's 30, but they're making 50 because they're getting the per diem. And I don't want to go to a meeting to get the $50 or the $100. I want to go to a meeting because it's part of my responsibility. So I'm glad the board does not have per diems. And I'm also glad that we don't have 7 board members, because we would qualify with our population to have 7 board members. I think we do just fine with 5 right now. And, that would only complicate things, I think, in a lot of ways, and would add the cost. And again, if we did do the 5%, which it sounds like there's a consensus of that, we're talking, again, $11,000 annually in a $212 million budget. So, Commissioner Persky?
Okay, I was thinking about the same lines that you folks were thinking, but I was thinking, Bob is talking about 5%, Terrell's talking about 5%, you're thinking 5%, Steve's thinking 5%. Well, if I say 5%, now we're up to 25%. So, I don't know.
Fancy math.
When Joe wears a tie, it restricts his oxygen.
Joe didn't teach
Now we all have to say 1%
Right,
to
Joe
get
doesn't
5.
So anyway, no, I just like to say, I don't think any of us are driven by the pay. And in fact, when I came on the board, I had no idea what it paid, and I think I would supported the flat increases the first few times I was here. So from what I'm hearing, the 5% seems to make sense, and I'm very much so in favor of moving that forward. And I'll make a motion to make the salary increases to 5% for the board.
I'll second that with a comment.
So the resolution would be changed, the number would be 48565. From the packet number.
Just help me, the percentage are you talking about? Or
No, the dollar amount would become 48,565.
Got it, okay. So Commissioner Persky moves, Commissioner Notch seconds, Commissioner Notch.
Yeah, well, if we're going to be truly transparent, there's also a benefit package too that comes with being a commissioner. So it's, maybe you have your salary plus, some benefit options.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, there's been a motion and a second to approve a 5% adjustment. And again, just for the record, what is that again, Mike?
The dollar amount?
Yeah.
48,565.
And then what you maybe should do or could do, or we can do it, figure out how much that is per resident. So if those posts happen, we can give that 12.5 cents back to whoever that person is.
Mr. Chair, be a little facetious here. Do we qualify for paid family leave?
You're gonna have to pay for it, so.
Well, it depends on any meeting. Some of us might want other members not to be here.
That's
so
true,
we can
maybe we
work
should have
on that.
included that amount in it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded and pretty much overly discussed. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item is the per diems for the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the changes in the per diem list would be for the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Commission. I think we heard at our work session, we talked about this, that you wanted to increase those to include a $50 site visit per diem for the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment members. The rest of the schedule is the same.
And I think this has been discussed for a long time, even when I was on planning. When you do site visits, and again, for me, I mean, it was 35 miles, which we get paid mileage, but the Sauk Center, and then you had to go to Avon, then you had to go over to Fairhaven. It's a solid half a day to do the site visits, and we really wanted to encourage. We've had some issues with a member or two not doing the site visits. It's hard to vote on things if you're not doing the site visits, so hopefully this will help that happen as well. And rather than just increasing the meeting per diem, which will stay at $100, then the site visit per diem will certainly help with that. When I first got on the Planning Commission, we'd have 26 plus items on the agenda. We would meet from 6 until midnight. And then I finally said, this is crazy. And we split it up that we had 2 meetings a month because after 3 hours, I mean, your brain fries. And so that has not happened recently. I think our agenda items are average 5, from what I see. So, but I think this is a signal, and it's harder and harder to find good people and to keep good people. And it's not the $100 that they're staying for, but the time is becoming an issue. When we do committee appointments, we did have a member resign last night from the planning because the schedule just isn't working. So time is important to everybody these days, and we want to get qualified candidates. So hopefully this will help to do that. So I'll make a motion to approve the per diem for the Board of the Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment for the $50 site visit fee.
I'll second that with a couple comments. Yesterday, I did site visits for the Planning Commission. It was 3.5 hours. And I would say that's fairly typical. Rarely do we go under 3 hours. Sometimes it's as many as 5 hours. And we want those Planning Commission members to be seeing those sites because it gives you a much greater perspective to see that in your own eyes and look at the property and see what the pros and cons are to the project that's coming forward rather than just reading about it. So, yeah.
Okay, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's approved. Now we have issues by commissioners. Bob, should I throw you off and start with you?
Sure, that's fine. Actually, I only have one comment. At our last meeting, we talked about some priorities relative to the airport authority, the Sky Central Airport. I found the conversation a little bit confusing and was not picking up on exactly what direction we wanted to go. I hadn't had much experience with the airport authority at this point. Subsequent to last week's meeting, I met with 2 people who are on the airport authority and really have come to appreciate in a different way the vision that they have, the work that they're doing. And we all know how important that is to us. I would like to basically capitulate on what I said last week. I'm not so sure that we need a commissioner as a voting member. I think we need to be certain that we have input in terms of the cap on any levy from the airport authority. And I think that that's quite possible without being there. I think an ex officio membership would be fine, but I don't think we need to be a voting member. I think the airport authority needs to be somewhat free from the politics of things. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, a couple things. It didn't come up before, but we received, our human services folks received a really great award at AMC last week, and it was partially for the work that they've been doing to try to change, enhance, deal with volume, all the rest of that. So that was pretty exciting. I know we got a note from Mike, the annexation request went through last night at the St. Cloud City Council, which was really great to be seeing us continue to move forward. And then just a quick note on safety. Safety, we strive so hard to be a place that is safe and welcoming for all of our residents, and thinking about the work of our snow plowers this time of year, thinking about what happens on our lakes, trying to keep them safe, the great work our sheriff's department does. And we've had a number of residents in recent times because of some of what's happening from the federal level that are just really nervous right now about being welcome, about being safe, including in our buildings. And they are safe, and we want people to know that, I want people to know you are safe to come in our buildings. Our staff are here to support you. And we will continue to work to make sure that whether your family's lived here for, 100+ generation farm, or if you're a newer citizen from the last 25 years, that you are all part of our community. And so it's just something that I know we strive for, and it is something that a number of us have seen been worrisome. And I'm sure I'll see chatter about that on the same places.
Commissioner Persky?
Yes, just a couple things. The AMC award, Human Services, the hats off to the service that they're providing, and the information we were given shortly previously to hear about the voice-activated services. That's great. I was just a little bit concerned, though, when we got on the elevator today to get our pictures taken. It said Human Services walk-in or out at the West Side Service Center. We are going to be changing that shortly, so that's going to be happening here. So wanted to make sure that we're still on board with moving that forward.
We are.
Yeah, good. And then at our last meeting, we were stressed for time to finishing out. I do hope in the work session, at least, we will talk about the potential for a noise ordinance if we think that might be possible when we get to meet again and talk about that. Terrell bringing the issues up about concerns. Last week I was invited to a meeting at St. Joseph's Church with some of our new citizens, and there are a lot of them are afraid, and they're living in fear for them and the rest of their families. So hopefully, we can be doing the right thing to make sure that people are welcome here that are welcome here, right? Making sure that we're abiding by the laws that we should be abiding by. And then finally, on an up note, I want to make sure we have a happy holiday. Everybody here that's in this room, as well as the citizens out in Stearns County, and I think we should be optimistic for 2026. And so with the lemons we have ahead of us, I hope we can make some lemonade out of them, okay?
Commissioner Notch?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I guess I was going to mention the same thing, kind of wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, or Happy Holidays, whichever suits the individual need. Again, I think we all want to be inviting, but I think we just want to make sure we're not always inviting some corruption, which doesn't matter which nationality or country of origin or anything. I mean, there's kind of bad apples all the way around. But, overall, I think that Stearns County is very positive. I mean, we hear, when we go to AMC and stuff, we hear from a lot of people that Stearns County leads, I think, in being proactive on a lot of fronts, whether it's, anything from the EVA system. I guess I spoke to Nobles County. I think they're kind of looking at it too now, and we're wondering a little bit about it. So I think some of the other smaller counties especially kind of look to us for little guidance, because it seems like, number one, we're more friendly when it comes to asking the questions and explaining what we're doing. So again, applaud staff and everybody for all the great work they've been doing.
Okay, at some point, Sherburne County asked when we were going to have them for a work session. I said, you'll be in touch with them at AMC. They asked on their nuclear issue. So I said, you'll certainly be in touch with them for the work session. We all got the email on Mike's evaluation. There'll be a little tweak to that, but certainly fill that out by the 9th of January. Again, for the public, we do evaluations on Mike, and then Mike does the evaluations for the other. Have you done those already?
No, in fact, I have an email to go to you all, because if you have comments about any of those leaders, you can give me those.
Okay, and that we don't do the evaluations to the department directors, but Mike does. And last year, I know I shared comments, and that's good that you're going to encourage everybody to do that, because hopefully it helps you do those. This will be my last meeting as chair. Obviously, it was an experience, learned a lot, so appreciate that. Something that, I think we all know it, but we kind of take it for granted. But when we had our board retreat, and the consultants at one point said at their last meeting, being a commissioner in Stearns County is a big deal. And then when he said it, I kind of was looking at him like, and he says, you got $212 million budget, you got 1,000 employees, you got 165,000 people, and the geographical area. And, sometimes I think we get caught up in this, and I hope we never forget that, but at that moment, that was a surreal moment for me, that this is a big deal, and it is an honor. And the people, 95% of the people are not going to spend the time that we do to look into things because they hired us to do that. And so we all take it very serious, and we should, but it is a big deal, and I think we're all trying to do our best, and we don't always agree, but we certainly are doing our best. So, and I too want to say on behalf of Marlene and Jacob and Kylie and Mitchell, Merry Christmas, and we'll start the new year, and let's see what we can make happen next year. So, with that, meeting adjourned, and then we'll recess for the work session. The work session's going to be over there?
Yep, in that corner here.
Got it. And so we'll have a little bit of time, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Take a break, definitely.
thank you.
I know I need a break.
That